In a statement Thursday in the House, it is clear that in reference to the movement of congressional Republicans to change the justice recently in Washington, D.C., Representative Jamie Raskin, Democrat Maryland, gave a brief confirmation of the idea that puts the Democrats in charge, as capital, is some kind of doomsday scenario in terms of crime rates. He spoke to both Georgia Republican and Kevin McCarthy. These reforms Republicans want less criminal sentences for the most violent crimes. Most of the time, the defendants don't even get what is the technology they are most guilty of, and it's not like if the policy which the city council approves on the mayor is completely against there is an absolute possibility of serious consequences for the accused. But the sponsor Representative Andrew Clyde, Republican Georgia, said that D.C. The council's motion to rewrite the penal code threatens the well-being of Washingtonians and visitors, making our capital a haven for violent criminals, which, in the abstract, is not true. Raskin criticized Clyde, who the Maryland Democrat said tends to associate Washington, D.C. with the crime. Republicans often stick to this line of argument, trying to thank Democrats for crime and violence no matter how often Biden condemns violence or supports law enforcement. Raskin said, Clyde and his colleagues are always trying to connect the crime picture with what they call a Democratic-dominated state. So I did some research last night just to clear things up. The 7 states with the highest homicide rates in 2020 are all states for Donald Trump in the 2020 election. The homicide rate in states that voted for Trump is higher than the homicide rate in states that voted for Trump every year from 2000 to 2020. So I would encourage Clyde not to lecture the people of Washington, D.C. about the crime rate. The president got up to talk about yesterday's decision and today's decision, Raskin continued, referring to McCarthy. He also gave the people of Washington, D.C. lecture on the influence of that vote when he refused their admission to the Union as a state. In other words, he is trying to prevent and destroy their desire to become a state that will give them true political equality in the country. Then he says that the people of Washington, D.C. are escaping the vote. And he participated in it. A choir is speaking out against crime in Washington, D.C., which suddenly hurts them. I've never heard them talk about it before. Well, it turns out that Bakersfield, California has one of the highest crime rates in America and was recently named one of the 10 deadliest cities in America for its size. Its crime rate is also higher than that of Washington, D.C. Raskin also goes into detail about how the lack of legislative representation for the people of Washington, D.C., like representation for people living in other parts of the country, is a big problem unlike those problems that still exist. Stuck to wait. In the absurd opinion that Trump really won in 2020 or saying that what happened on Capitol Hill on January 6 is not all bad.